Yesterday, good morning. Yesterday, Adrotica called me and told me about their evening meditation. Today, Al called me and told me about their afternoon exercises. I think I've told you before they go for a stroll along the beach, the Pacific Beach. It's a secluded resort, and the beach has a northern jutting of rock into the ocean, so that portion is covered and private to the resort, and also another jutting out of rock to the south, so they got at least a mile and a half they can walk up and down the beach and enjoy the solitude. Um, Hand in hand walking or jogging alongside of each other, and then coming back to a lunch. This time, uh, an energy smoothie, an energy smoothie, or a drink, or a soup, something light and digestible, but very nutritious and full. They're going to need the energy for the afternoon. So after the lunch is served and they have some time to go back to their own apartment, their penthouse overlooking the beach with a balcony, they have a chance to clean up and prepare for the afternoon exercises, which amount to the the words escape me. Give me a moment. The tantric yoga exercises. Thank you, and thank you for your patience and the gaps in my mental recall. The tantric yoga, and as I've explained before, the man sits on the floor in a lotus or a lotus-like or a cross-legged position, and I want to suggest up front that a pillow can be used at the back of the buttocks, a butt bumper that's sometimes called, to give it sort of a lift. And then the woman engages in also a cross-legged position, but across the man's lap, so that entry or penetration can be gained, very slowly and very carefully. But she too might use I think, yes, in their case, they use appropriate pillows. Uh, so if you attempt this with your own partner, which you certainly should perhaps, uh, these are suggestions based on what I know about what Al told me that they do. Uh, Now, once this position is attained and penetration is attained, then just hold still right there. Um, don't move. The whole point there is that you both engage in what's known as a mula bandha, a root lock. And for the man, this amounts to like a clench of the anal sphincter muscle, which also includes a clench of the prostate and a drawing that up. Um, and at the same time, the woman engages in a vaginal muscle clench, sometimes known as a Kegel, that's suggested after childbirth to restore the integrity of the pelvic floor. Some yoga books that I know about that I've read even suggest that the woman insert a finger up to make sure that she's engaging this anal sphincter muscle. And then a silly story that I once heard is where that that she actually gets a cramp in that muscle and locks the man's penis in place, and they call 911 for help. But like, what are the medics going to do? So but if you eat the proper foods and you have electrolytes, you're not going to have the muscle cramp. And for the men, I'm reminded of Viagra, where they said, if you have an erection that lasts more than 6 hours, 7 hours, you should seek help. That seems ridiculous as well. So none of the assistance drugs or anything like that are used in this kind of practice. And with the root lock, you engage in each other's arms. And then the other thing I mentioned was that they lean back and look at each other's eyes, which is another kind of meditation practice. and very difficult to attain or maintain, as well as this position. And no, even though they have a 2 hour period to practice this, it begins. And you can sometimes be uncomfortable, particularly if you're not in physically fit or conditioned to engage in this position, to maintain it for any length of time. So, just whatever length of time is possible that you feel comfortable maintaining this. But the main thing is to remain still and not move the pelvis, but engage the sphincter muscles to pull up the spiritual energy from the root. This is where the Kundalini, and that's where I got mixed up a few moments again, trying to remember Kundalini as opposed or in conjunction with tantric yoga practices. But the practice of tantra yoga is aimed to engage the Kundalini, or the spirit energies that are associated with sex. But in this case, in the ancient Vedas, sex is a very sacred thing. It procreates, it maintains humankind. And the the objective, I mean, at first it started, let's correct Al's memory. Let's fix the Alzheimer. But within 24, 48 hours, that was no longer a problem. His memory was very much regained. And now they're aiming to, well, the whole notion of the nanobots and the implants is so that their brain activity can be accelerated, and so that it can be elevated as well as accelerated, and the brain capacity expand, so that in the San Diego next step, they can attain a broadband telepathic kind of communication all along. Well, in the clinical trial, they were hoping to get to the point where the idea of a cell phone being implanted in your brain, but then actually with your thoughts, like rather than Google something, you just think, well, I want to think about that. And then the Google answer comes up, or everybody YouTubes how to do a how-to. Well, you just, how do I do this? And then all that YouTube information comes up. And the computers can think so much faster and acquire so much more data that if we're ever to have a relationship in the future or a competition with them, we have to elevate the human brain so it's equivalent to what the computers can think. And then where we are at this stage, practicing tantric yoga or building up the spiritual energies, or releasing the kundalini from the base of the spine, starting with the energies of sex, and then bringing that up through the spine, up through what's known as the chakras, or really practically in physical terms, if you just pull Mula Bandha and improve the integrity of the muscles around the floor of the pelvis. And then I mentioned before, as you bring that energy up, you pull up Uddiyana Bandha, the drawing up of the diaphragm and more straightening, and finally at the jaw, bringing that up, Jalalahara Bandha, and then you bring the beginning of that sexual energy, which is the joining of the male and the female, the yoni and the pingala, and bring that up into the brain. And then if I talk about the ductless glands that bring about our hormones, at the very tip of the idea is to start at the bottom where the sexual organs are and bring up that base energy up through the adrenalines at the top of the kidneys, where you straighten your back, and then you bring in your stomach and the Uddiyana Bandha, and then you engage the pancreas that puts out the insulin that makes your body heat, up through the heart chakra, the thymus, and then into the throat, excuse my pronunciation again, Jalandhara Bar. Anyway, you look it up. That engages the thyroid and the parathyroid, and then finally the third eye point between the eyebrows is the pituitary gland, and then the crown chakra is the pineal gland, a pea-sized ductless gland. that sort of is the choreograph or the orchestra conductor for all of the other glands. It's a pea-sized gland that sits between the two brain hemispheres, and the whole idea of the pair, the yin and the yang, uh, the plus and the minus of the male and the female, is to combine that. So as you're sitting there in this sexual embrace, uh, you're not you're aiming to combine your sexual energies so that the yin and the yang are combined, or the yoni and the pingala are combined, so that it's not her orgasm or your orgasm, it's our orgasm, and the combining of those spiritual forces, bringing it up through your spine mutually. And that implies, I'm running out of breath talking with you, but if you do this, you're going to run out of breath. And the two breaths are the breath of fire, where you breathe with your diaphragm with exhalations. And then it's also called a bellows breath, but you can look this up on the YouTube as well. And then followed by a long inhale, fully inflating the lungs. And with the lungs inflating, you get another stretch of the spine and bringing up more energy. And then the final exhale, where you draw up the diaphragm, let all the breath out, and use that to further structurally engage the core muscles, and use the muscles inside your body in conjunction with the sexual energy that you're arising, to bring it through the crown chakra on the very top of the head, together, mutually, feeling that not just a physical orgasm, as we're all really excited about, but a spiritual, sexual orgasm. And if there's any way to separate the human's ability from the robot's ability, I think this must be one important avenue. I don't know how robots can have sex and have little baby robots. I don't know how robots have baby robots. I don't know how robots have sex. I do know there are right now sex robots that you can buy for about $40,000 out of California. I do know about Sophia in Hong Kong that's been programmed to become an excellent female companion. I believe I've talked a bit about that before, and also the Japanese robots that are being used as companions for older people. And then there's the movie Ex Machina, that's all about this guy that experiments building the sex robots, and then one gets loose. Well, you'll have to see the movie and see the outcome of that experiment. But well, maybe I should quit at this time. Possibly so. Thank you for listening in again today. Bye bye.